Eileen, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you guys are located, your website address, your Instagram, social media accounts, all that good stuff.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thanks, Shane, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I think I've been involved with wedding reports for the existence of my company. So I use it all the time as a reference tool. My company is Eileen Smith Events. I'm located in Bridgewater, Connecticut. I've been in business since 2008. I'm on Instagram. It's ES_events08. I have a Facebook page, Eileen Smith Events. I'm on Wedding Wire. I'm on The Knot. I'm on a lot of the standard wedding platforms involved. I do weddings, but I also do corporate events. I do fundraising for nonprofit and for land trust. I work a lot with prep schools in the area with their events through the year. Mm-hmm. So I've got a mixed bag of tricks.
That's good. What was your inspiration for starting the business?
Well, I've always been in the event industry my entire professional career. My husband and myself actually owned a tent and party rental company. When my kids were growing up, we did that whole thing. We sold the company like 20 years ago. And I still had that passion. I mean, I still wanted to drink that Kool-Aid. And I just love the fact of being able to get more involved with the customers instead of just like, here's your tent, here's your delivery, have a nice day, good luck with your event. I wanted to get more hands-on and kind of use my creative skills and knowledge from being in the tent and party business. I was able to really diverse, and I still had a lot of my connections through the party rental company that I was able to start Eileen Smith Events and reach out to all the existing vendors and customers and let them know, hey, I'm starting this little company. It was a lot of, it was a little tough in the beginning, but then all of a sudden, things started turning around. In the beginning, word of mouth was really my best advertisement. I started networking with quite a few vendors like caterers, florists, photographers, and they kind of, became a really good partnership, and we would help each other. So if the caterer was doing an event and they said, hey, we're really looking for a wedding planner, they would refer me and vice versa. So we network really well that way. And I've been doing this again since 2008. So I've got quite a diverse and large partnership of vendors that I work with. Yeah,
over those years, Do you only do like full service planning, or do you do other pieces of the planning?
Majority of what I do is full service. So full service is pretty much soup to nuts. I tell my clients, I'm going to become your new best friend because we're going to be talking, weekly and as we get close, even daily, on all of the details and the planning. So full planning is basically, I always compare it to creating a work of art. So we start with a canvas, and we start adding in all of the elements to make the event work. And then I also do, which has been really popular in the last few years, because a lot of brides really do love the planning piece of it, if they have the time to do it, and they just need someone to kind of execute it. So I call that month of coordination. So they hire me to do the month of, and basically what I do is I take the reins of their plannings and then I execute it, contact all the vendors and
just make sure everything's lined up and awesome.
And all that kind of stuff.
Where do most of your couples that have come to you today, how are they reaching you? Is it online? Is it referral still? Is it other means?
It's a combination, to be honest with you. A lot of I do get a lot of leads from Wedding Wire, which works. I mean, sometimes we get connected and they're just looking for pricing, and
Sure.
they go on. So word of mouth is probably my next best mode of promoting myself, because of this relationships that
Yep.
I've created over the years with the different vendors. Works really, really well. I mean, during this time where my business is very slow because of COVID, I'm kind of expanding out to other, expand my network a little bit more, to more caterers, to more venues,
Yep.
to see if how I can, interject with their businesses.
Sure. Do you do mostly like destination weddings? People like traveling to connect? Because I know like it seems like the northern part of the U.S., especially like Midwest North and Northeast. People have moved away. As they get older or whatever, and then they like to go back there to get married with their family and that sort of thing. It seems to me. Do you do a lot of more destination weddings, or do you see weddings coming from your local market more?
A lot of what I've noticed is, because of the fact we're only 90 minutes from Manhattan,
Yeah.
a lot of my clientele live in the city, and they have either a second home in Connecticut on the lake, or up in the mountains. And it could be a house that their kids grew up in, and they want to have the wedding reception at their home. That's very common. And again, it's not just the wedding. It really is a wedding weekend.
Yeah.
So we have the rehearsal dinner. We've got the day of, and then of course we've got some sort of brunch or barbecue on Sunday.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, if they're from the city, they make a weekend out of it. I do not just in the northwest part, but I go all over Connecticut, and I do a lot in Westchester County in New York. And it has evolved to that, where again, it's all about budget with the
Sure.
client, but it's kind of evolved to not just a wedding day. When I first started this 12 years ago, crazy.
Wow.
Um, it was just weddings, or one day thing. But now it's kind of evolved to this, like you said, destination or a weekend wedding,
Yeah.
which is a lot of fun, because a lot of these people, yet they haven't seen each other in years, and so it's not just a one day thing. They get to hang out with each other for 3 days,
Yeah.
which is
That's
a lot
right.
of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's more about the experience today, right, than it has been ever. So that's why I think you see it's become a weekend or a couple day event, right? Because it's more about the experience of the time together.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Outside of that, what would you say is the thing that your couples are asking you for, or that you see that they're wanting more often today than maybe last year?
I with the invention of Pinterest, so 12 years ago, Pinterest I don't even think existed. But
Nope.
now with Pinterest, everyone has a Pinterest page, and they usually, send me their vision board of what they would like. And depending upon their budget, I do my best to try and make that happen for them. So that's something that's kind of become a constant when a bride and groom hires me.
Hmm.
Um, that I actually love doing that. So I'm a very creative person. So that they may give me a whole ton of pictures and ideas, and
Yeah.
kind of create a design board for them. And if they love it, that's great. If not, we just keep working on it,
Yeah.
keep it going. Yeah. One thing that I found that I've noticed lately is a lot of DIY. So they'll do last year. The donut walls have become really popular. Um, Wedding cakes uh, not are not as popular as they used to be.
Yeah.
A lot of them are going to do like maybe a small cake. I had one bride and groom where they cut the crepe because they didn't like cake, but they love crepe. I'm finding that is becoming more and more popular. Um, this food service is becoming more of a communal thing, so more of plow to plate, where they get a lot of local vegetables or local produce or meat or chicken or fish, and that's been very popular too.
Yeah.
And yeah, and doing family style service has been really popular.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Um, so for someone that's looking for a planner to help them with their wedding in your area, what questions, what advice would you have for couples that are looking?
Um, well, a lot of times one of the first things I ask them is, how many people are you thinking of having? Are you planning, did you want to, do you have any, do you want to do a barn wedding? Do you want to do rustic? Do you want to make it very elegant? Do you want to
Mhm.
keep it classic and simple? So questions that they may not even have thought of. Sometimes they'll say to me, well, we just want to do a party in our backyard in a tent because, it's less expensive. I'm like, well, not really.
Not really.
No, no, not anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe 25 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, but what's nice about my specialty is doing outdoor events because of the nature of my experience.
Mhm.
And a lot of times you can really do something absolutely like spectacular, or you can keep it just really simple. You can get a tent that's a clear top or a beautiful sailcloth. You can hang chandeliers, or you can bring in farm tables. I mean, the whole design element, like I said earlier, it's a blank canvas, and we just
Yeah.
bring all design elements into it, which actually my couples absolutely love. They love to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's awesome. What advice would you have for them? Like, what questions should they be asking if they're when they're looking for a planner? What questions should they be asking?
Well, sometimes it's not just the couple. Sometimes it's the mother of the bride or the mother of the groom
Mhm.
contacting me, asking advice or opinions. A lot of times they'll say, I started doing this, and we both work full time, and I can't plan a wedding. I really need help. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the excitement of getting engaged and setting the date and what's going to be your next step. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll ask them like key questions, are you going to have a large wedding party? Do you want to do something intimate? Like one time I had someone that wanted to do a wedding for like 350 people,
Mhm.
and they had a very small budget. And I said, the best thing you can do, I know you're not going to want to hear this, but if you reduce your guest count, it'll become affordable for you.
Mhm.
Um, Another advice I would give my couples, actually, I do it all the time, is I get in conversations with them about, my grandmother wants this, my mother wants this, my aunt wants this. And I finally say to them, you can't make everybody happy. And you have to focus on the fact that you're not going to make everybody happy, but just focus on the fact of what the two of you really want in this wedding and in the celebration.
Yeah.
Um, and you just got to let it go. I mean, you can't make, I mean, even
Yeah.
when you have 30 people, you can't make everybody happy.
No, that's for sure. There's always going to be somebody that's unhappy with how something went. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had this bride who postponed till next year, but her future mother-in-law was like, "You're not inviting kids? How could you not invite kids?" I mean, it was And she got really upset about it. And I said, you talk it over with your fiance. And if you don't want kids, you don't want kids. And, she's going to have to respect that.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I find myself as a therapist when it comes to couples. I'm on the phone longer, or Zooming with them longer than need be, because it's that reassurance that it's going to be okay. And a lot of times I go down the, what you need to do at different stages. And a lot of times I tell them things or suggest things to them, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So I kind of guide them along the way.
Yeah.
I've never had a wedding that's the same. So like if you go to the plaza or any venue, it's kind of like cookie cutter. And I try to make it more than cookie cutter. So and a lot of the attention to detail, place cards, or someone wanted a really cool signature drink, and doing a really cool signage for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the part that I like getting involved with.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's switch gears and talk about the business side a little bit. What would you say over the past couple of years have been the things that have been working well for you?
Um, Working well. Um, I think the expanding and keeping a very open mind to what my clients want. Even though I may think like, this is crazy, you can't do this. Just being able to say, hey, if you're game, I'm game. I had one wedding where they picked a trail to have the wedding on the side of a pond, so all the guests had to walk in to the location, and it
Yeah.
was probably like a half a mile walk. And we figured out a way, those that didn't want to walk, we got a couple of Jeeps and 4x4s, and we four-wheeled it down to the
Nice.
but when they told me, I was just like, that's crazy. In my mind, I was like, we can't do this. But I find business-wise, I have to be more open-minded to their suggestions, and being able to say, yeah, we could probably do that, and figuring out a way to do it. That is probably business-wise. Otherwise, it's really just growing. Over the last 5 years, my business has really taken off. I've been able to get a couple of associates to work with me on events.
Nice.
So I'm able to, if I can't be at one event, they could do like a month of coordination at another event. Or sometimes if the event is quite large, they're all on board to help me, because the day of the event, I call myself this like a CO for contractors. I'm like the CO for the event, because I got to make sure everything is exactly where it's going to be. The
Yeah.
caterer, the caterer, the floors, the lighting company. Everyone's involved. So
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
associates will be more like, you take care of the bride while she's getting ready, her hair and makeup, and then we'll text each other, and we'll talk with, we're
Yeah.
going to do our first look with the groom.
Yeah. Gotcha. Um, Outside of COVID-19, what's been your biggest challenges over the past couple of years?
Um, I think my biggest challenge because my specialty is outdoor events.
Yeah.
So my biggest challenge is weather. So whenever I do an event, we always start with the rain plan and a beautiful
Yeah.
day plan. So the client, there's no surprises that if the weather's bad, then, we know this is what XYZ it's going to cost to bring in the rain plan.
Yeah.
Um, and even if it does rain, at least we know what the plan is. I mean, one time I did an event where literally I saw a tunnel cloud, and we were outside doing cocktails, and then we were going into the building for dinner.
Hmm.
So we had to end the cocktails kind of fast, because I was very concerned
Yeah.
about, guests getting injured. A lot of times too, as I tell everybody, I kind of turn into a meteorologist the week of, to
Yeah.
see what the fronts are, and
Yeah.
and a lot of times I do my best to try and make sure that we could, if someone really, really wants to have their wedding ceremony outside under the sky. And one time it was pouring, and I could see the front was going to pass, but it was going to take about 30 minutes. So I went
Hmm.
into the bride and I said, if we can postpone this for 30 minutes, I said, we could make this happen. And the skies opened up. We had all the staff come out. We wiped down all the chairs, and we did it outside.
Nice.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say weather is probably my biggest
Your
challenge.
biggest challenge. Yeah. Um, if you had to go back and ask yourself or tell yourself something 5 years ago, something you've learned over the past 5 years, what would you go back and tell yourself?
That's a good question. Um, I think I would, I do really well under pressure. Sometimes being able to not sweat the little stuff, kind of look at the big picture, and being more open-minded to be able to make my clients' dreams come true. I think that would be something I would tell myself. Every event, after every event, I sit down and I do the pros and cons of
Yeah.
how could I made this event better? What mistakes did I do and every event I make a list, what was good about it, what was bad about it, how I would improve it. And that's something that I've been doing probably the last 5 years. And 10 years ago, I probably should have done it right away.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because you learn, like you said, it's like, okay, well, did these things happen? What could I do to improve that or make that better, right? Or easier, uh,
right.
is always beneficial. Um, so last question, what is your most inspirational wedding story that you have for
Inspirational. Oh my goodness. I have two.
me? Okay.
I had done a banat mitzvah for a client. They had a beautiful estate in Kent. And a banat mitzvah is twins getting either bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvah. In this case,
Oh,
it was
gotcha.
two girls.
Yeah.
Um, and it was an outdoor event. It was about 300 people. We had to bus 100 kids in from the city. Um, and I think what was inspirational to me was the fact we had the ceremony underneath one tent, and then all the kids and guests went in the back of the property for the reception.
Hmm.
And what was so inspirational to me about it is these two young girls had to learn so much, to do and I was just so inspired by them talking to the crowd and reading from the Torah. And the rabbi turned out to be their uncle. So it became even more intimate. And how much work it was for them to do that, and how patient the parents were. Because when each girl, once they completed the ritual, they had
Yeah.
to do it all over again for the second one. So what was going to be only, an hour turned out to be like 2 hours.
Right.
Um, so that was very inspirational for me. Another wedding, the other thing that which really touched my heart, was a wedding, and the groom's mother was recovering, had breast cancer,
Hmm.
and she wasn't doing well. at the rehearsal dinner and at the rehearsal practice at the church, she did not look good. And one thing that she wished for the day of her son's wedding was be able to dance with him.
Oh.
So the day of the rehearsal dinner, I sat and talked with them, not with the groom's mother, but with the bride and groom.
Mhm.
And we were very concerned that she probably wasn't going to make it through the whole reception.
Wow.
So we changed the timeline. And what we did was we did the wedding introduction, and then we went right to the parent dances. So it was very intimate. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. So she had a very difficult time even walking to the table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she got up and she danced with her son, and it was so beautiful.
Awesome.
And touched my heart. And unfortunately, we had to call the ambulance because she didn't make it through the event. She had to be rushed to the hospital.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So it was, that was, it was just.
Well, good thing you were able to move things around timeline wise and
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's great.
experience that.
Yeah, we had to, on top of it all, the ambulance came. We had to stop everything. And then, she went off to the hospital, and his brother was the best man. And his brother and I were walking back from where she was.
Mhm.
And we were going back to the reception. And I said, I know this sounds really crazy. And it because of everything that just transpired with your mother,
Yeah.
are you ready to do your best man toast? I felt horrible to say that, but we had to keep things going.
Sure.
So, but yeah, that really touched my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Good story. Eileen, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Really
Been great.
enjoyed it.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.